We bring you stories of tragedy, we also bring you stories of hope. Nepal's capital, Kathmandu, is witnessing a massive exodus. Over 1 lakh people have now fled Kathmandu. There is fear of an epidemic. Look at these pictures. Filth is piling. Bodies of people inside rubble, carcass of animals. They're sparking fear of a looming epidemic. Small aftershocks also add to the sense of panic. 1.5 lakh people have already fled Kathmandu. Add to that another 1 lakh since yesterday. Now this is slowly turning Kathmandu into a ghost town. Authorities fear nearly 5 lakh people may flee the capital for the countryside. Public and private transport literally bursting at the seams as mass exodus shows no sign of abating. The government has now sought another 600 buses to help cope with the beeline out of the capital. And anger is mounting on the streets of Kathmandu. Buses are unavailable. There are residents who want to leave Kathmandu, but they don't know how to get out of the streets of Kathmandu. Over 1 lakh have already left, another 1.5 lakh waiting to leave. Look at these pictures. Large crowds at bus stands. This is after the government announced that extra services would be organized to ferry people to the countryside. According to reports, there were scuffles as people tried desperately to board buses, and they fought not just with each other, also with authorities when buses did not show up.
वो घर बुला रहे हैं हमको, जल्दी आओ ऐसा बोल रहा है।
यहाँ तो लेकिन इतनी लंबी कतार लगेगी, आपका बहुत घंटे में नंबर आएगा।
भरोसा थोड़े बहुत पूर्ण भरोसा नहीं है, बिकॉज कोई सिस्टम नहीं है। बहुत घंटे से यहाँ बस रहे हैं हम, कोई फैसिलिटी नहीं है।
बहुत राजगिरी।
और कहाँ के रहने वाले हैं?
हम नेपालगंज के।
नेपालगंज। तो यहाँ से नेपालगंज जाना चाहते हैं?
हाँ।
तो कैसे जाएंगे?
बस आ रहा है, हम वेट कर रहे हैं।
इसमें तो बहुत घंटे लगेंगे, अभी तो बहुत लंबी लाइन लगी हुई है।
क्या करें, परेशानी है तो वेट करना।
And amidst these stories of ruin, of grief, of devastation in Nepal, there are also tales of true grit, of survivors who've had the determination that they will beat back death, they will survive against all odds. Joining me now is Headlines Today's Manogya Loiwal. Manogya, on the streets of Kathmandu, there is fear of an epidemic. How are authorities gearing up for this?
Well, of course, it's a very grim situation as far as Nepal is concerned, especially Kathmandu, where aftershocks were experienced till yesterday. And that has left most of the people in a dilemma on whether they should continue to stay in Kathmandu or head back to their native places in the villages. We spoke to a lot of people during the day, especially at the bus stop. It was almost a chaotic situation where most of them wanted to return back to their native villages, even far-flung areas where they did not know and they could not ascertain the quantum of damage that has taken place. However, most of them living in rented accommodations here in Kathmandu said that their houses were damaged here in Kathmandu and they did not want to continue staying. Most of them wanted to go back to their residences and stay there. They said their houses might have been small in their native villages, but they feel that it is much safer to be there rather than staying in a multi-storied building in Kathmandu. Beyond that, there are around 500 to 600 buses that are flying from Kathmandu bus stations to different districts of the state. They are mostly free, but then there are charges also in private buses. In fact, interestingly, there are school buses that are now being used for ferrying people from Kathmandu to different districts. And with that, we also need to understand that it's not just about a major exodus, but the fear factor that is working on the people more on.
Okay. Now, you were talking to a number of doctors in Kathmandu. You've spoken to people. There's a shortage of food. There's a shortage of medicines. Is the situation any better today with additional flights carrying in more food, water and medicines to Kathmandu?
Gaurav, the biggest problem is that even if the food is reaching Kathmandu, it has to be disseminated and sent to the places where it is in need of most. Especially these places are far-flung areas which have been cut off due to landslide in various regions, and that continues to be so because there's a Met prediction that there would be rainfall for next 1 week. Now, if that happens, it has been cloudy and quite chilly today also, and if in case the weather continues to be like this, it will be very difficult to continue the rescue operations. We visited a few places where rescue operations were on, and all the places were stinking badly because the dead bodies had started rotting there, and that's the reason that the stink was even higher now. But despite several teams working in, there were cranes being used, but now there's a fear of epidemic, and that's the reason that even the doctors feel that there's a paucity of medicines, mostly orthopedic medicines, because they are the most required medicines as far as Kathmandu is concerned, and that is the biggest requirement of Nepal at the moment.
And the Indian Air Force is flying in an additional stock of medicines for Nepal. It's not just government to government, but the people of India coming together to help friends and family in Nepal. After donating their pocket money for this Nepal tragedy, a group of kids from an art school in Lalbagh in Mumbai, they've gathered on the streets to request people for donation. And Manogya Loiwal standing by with me. Manogya, it's a lot of this help is also people to people. Is all of this, just a glut in Kathmandu, or is it also being spread out to the other affected areas, especially in Gorkha, Lamjung, Barpak?
Well, it's being airdropped in several areas, but it's very difficult also because half of the day the weather packs up, and that's the biggest hurdle as far as the distribution of relief material is concerned. But beyond that, in fact, call it the headlines today impact, that I got calls from people even in Nepal where they said that they wanted to arrange things from all the business associates in India and get the medicines at the earliest and supply it to the concerned hospitals. Now, in fact, I also spoke to them where they said that the number of medicines required will be supplied according to the hospital needs at the earliest. Beyond this, we've also spoken to several people who have said and assured that the relief material would be sent it at the earliest. In case it is not being distributed, they'll try to come themselves to Nepal, daring the aftershocks and of course the weather also, and will distribute it themselves. Several people from Kolkata, Mumbai, Delhi, Rajasthan have approached, and they want to come to Nepal to help the people as much as possible. Now this of course is not just government to government, but also man to man, power of expression, and of course standing in solidarity and compassion that has come to surface. And this is expected to continue because the people of Nepal are just not in need of sympathy, but they in need of empathy also.